Hello and welcome back to the finishing line in association with Betopin.com. As you can see, I'm still flying solo. Andrew's taking an extended holiday. It's well for some. Still sunning himself with the family. So we're just going to run through, obviously it's Derby weekend, big weekend in England, big weekend of football as well. And it's also a big racing weekend where we're based here in Tramore. Tramore is on Friday and Saturday. So keep listening. We've got a couple for Tramore on Friday that let's hope they can do the business. Pretty keen on at least one of them anyway. The Derby, massive race, highlight of the year for many at Epsom on Saturday. It's going to be an interesting race. There's plenty of contenders. Aidan O'Brien seems to have won every trial that's going so far this year. Interesting to see that every one of the official trials, as they call them, every one of the trials winners is turning up here. So we should get a proper race. It's tough to pick between some of them. We simply just run down through most of the contenders. You've got Bangkok, who's a horse of Andrew Boulding's for King Power, who has been fancied for the Derby for a while. Now I start with him because he's got a bit of form of another horse called Telecaster. So that takes the two of these into account. Bangkok is currently 9-1. Telecaster is into 5-1 now. He's been supplemented for the Derby. Bangkok actually beat Telecaster at Doncaster in a maiden at the start of this season. But when you go into that race, that was Telecaster's first run of his life, and that was Bangkok had a couple of runs before that. I definitely think Telecaster has improved since then. He was very impressive at Windsor, winning his maiden by about 9 lengths, and then he was good in the Dante, beating Two Down Hot, who I know didn't win the Irish 2,000 guineas, but he certainly franked the form. He didn't go and get tailed off there or anything like it. Bangkok has then gone on to win a Sandown. I'm sceptical on that form. A lot of this for the Derby, a lot of the form just hasn't worked out yet. That's why it's a bit tricky. I think Telecaster's improved. I think he has the beating of Bangkok. So we then have a look at a horse like Japan, who was behind Telecaster at York in the Dante. He was quite disappointed that day. He was my fancy for the Derby, as I said in the podcast before that race, but I'm not too sure now. He's got to improve a hell of a lot. Interesting to see they've left him in the Derby. Like, they must think a bit of him if they've done that, but he's got to improve a lot to get near Telecaster. Horse I can't have it all is a horse called Anthony Van Dyke. His form tailed off last year. He looked like he was going to be a superstar. He was very good as an early 2-year-old. Took all before him. He won the Lingfield Derby trial. I just don't like the form of that race at all. He bit a horse called Pablo Escobar and another horse called Nate the Great. I think they're listed or Group 3 horses at best. Pablo Escobar's been running handicaps. I know Anthony Van Dyke beat them well. The step up and trip might help him. I just can't see him being good enough to win a Derby. Then we get to Broome. Broome was very impressive, winning the Derrinstown Stud Derby trial at Leopardstown. He's been impressive both starts this season. The form. Blenheim Palace, who we beat, was only rated 86. Now, I wouldn't take that literally. I'd say Blenheim Palace is a little bit better than that. And I know Broome beat him easily, but he just looks like a big galloping type to me. He might lack the tactical speed coming down the hill around Tatton Corner for the Derby. He lacks a bit on pedigree as well. He cost 150,000, I think, as a yearling. He's a bit of a pedigree, but not a Derby winner's pedigree. Talking of Derby winners' pedigree, this gets me on to my selection for the race. Sir Dragonet. Sir Dragonet is a first foal. His dam was placed in a group race, and she's half sister to a horse that was placed in the Oaks called Wonder of Wonders. Being a half sister to Wonder of Wonders, her dam was also second in the Oaks. Her dam. So Sir Dragonet's dam, her mother basically, is a full sister to Galileo and a half sister to See the Stars. They're 2 Derby winners. Now, Sir Dragonet is by Camelot, who's made a fantastic start to his stud career. I actually fancy one of his in the Oaks as well. I think he could potentially do the double. That's a Derby winner's pedigree. I can almost guarantee you that Ryan Moore will ride Sir Dragonet over Broome, because if there's a horse they want to win the Derby this weekend, it's Sir Dragonet over Broome. He's a stallion's pedigree. Didn't get to the track until the start of this season. He was very impressive in his maiden, and then in the Chester Vase he won by 8 lengths. That was on yield into good to soft ground and yield into soft ground, as 2 victories have been on. It would be a slight worry, as would his lack of racing experience. He's currently good at Epsom. It's the only thing that I'd slightly be concerned about with him. I think he's got loads of raw ability. I think he shows nothing at home. He was sent off at 14-1 and 13-2 in his 2 races. I don't think he shows a lot at home at all. But I think this lad knows how to do it on the track. And I just think if there's one in here that could blow them all away, I think it is Sir Dragonet. For an each way, he is favourite. He's come into 3-1 now. There's not much juice in it, but I just think he is the one. He's got the pedigree. He's shown his ability on the track as well. Mad Moon is the other one. I know he's well fancied for the 2,000 guineas in Newmarket. I spoke to someone connected to the stable earlier in the morning over there, and they were quiet. They weren't saying a lot. They were confident. He shaped as if he went further that day. He just looks to gallop all day long. And a horse at 12-1 now, he was 14 yesterday, but he's 12-1 now. I think if you're looking for an each way shot, I'd take a chance on Mad Moon. So the selection is Sir Dragonet, and each way selection would be Mad Moon. We move on to, I should actually just say as well, I wouldn't rule Telecaster out. I know that's putting up the second favourite there, but if there's one to come out of the English horses, I think Telecaster could be it. Although I'd be much more confident on Sir Dragonet and Mad Moon. On to the Oaks now. As you know, I think with the 1,000 guineas at both race courses this year, I've been a lot less confident on the fillies races than I have been the Colts. No change here, guys. Pink Dogwood has come in. She was 3-1 yesterday when I was going to do this podcast, but we've only got around to it today on Wednesday. She's now 9-4. She's getting short enough. There's not much value there, but she would be my selection for the race. She's a full sister to an Irish Derby winner in Latrobe. She's again by Camelot, who has made a cracking start, and I really think could be a stallion to follow. If you remember, he was unlucky not to win the Triple Crown, and you know, horses just don't win the Triple Crown in the UK. She won the Salsa Bill Stakes at Navan. She won that going away quite comfortably. The form of that has worked out. The third has won a Group 3 since, and the fourth was beaten a length in a Group 3 at York. That's strong enough form. She progressed to win a maiden as a 2-year-old. She was then running a really nice race in the Prix-Marcel Boussac at Longchamp until she was short of room within the final furlong. So the finishing position probably doesn't do her justice in that race. Medea, I see Rab Hablin has booked up on her. It's a good opportunity for him. She bolted up at Chester on good to soft ground. She was really impressive. Form further down that field, though, there's a couple of come out of it. It's not working out too well. A horse who was in behind that day, Manuela de Vega, stayed on to be second. That was her first run of the season. I think she could come on for that. I quite like her. She's a 12-1 shot. Anampura won the Lingfield Oaks trial. Form is questionable, and that was on soft ground. Maxad. We'll go with Maxad. She was impressive at Newmarket. She won very well. She could be the one to challenge potentially. Again, that was the Pretty Polly. Form is a little bit questionable. Nothing's come out and won yet. Look, she's the favourite. She's not a very strong selection, but Pink Dogwood would be my selection for the Oaks, with maybe Manuela de Vega to run a bit of a race at a price as the each way shot. So that's the racing at Epsom wrapped up. It's going to be a fascinating race. We're without a standout horse this year, so it's going to be really interesting to tune in and watch. There's any one of the few of them could win, but my hopes are with Sir Dragonet anyway. Other racing, as I mentioned, this weekend takes place at Tramore. There's many other meetings on. I know Stratford is on as well, the Hunter Chase meeting over there. But we'll give Tramore a shout out. It's our local course. Anyone who hasn't seen Tramore, it's quite a tight right-handed track, very undulating, and can often reproduce course form there. It's a bit like Chester or somewhere, in that course form always seems to pop up again. Got two horses for Friday. Haven't gone through Saturday's card in too much depth, but nothing caught my eye really. In the 6:05, the 2 mile 5 handicap chase, 0 to 95 on Friday night. There's a horse called Star of Oscar. He's trained by a local man called Owen Doyle, who trains in the neighbouring county of Kilkenny. Star of Oscar's pretty unexposed over fences and hurdles, really. He got handicapped over hurdles last year. And his first run of handicap was on a 0 to 109. He was 5th of 13 that day, not beaten very far, off a mark of 96. That was at Tramore, which is noteworthy that he was able to come down the hill in Tramore. His next run then, he off a mark of 95, was at a 0 to 102 at Punchestown. He was 4th of 20 that day. He wasn't beaten very far at all. He then was disappointing following that at Punchestown again. After that, they gave him a break. They gave him a break of 60 days. They brought him back and they went chasing with him. He ran in a novice chase at Cork, which is a really good novice chase, and he got beaten quite away in that. But that was expected. Then another crucial piece of course form. He was 4th of 14 the last day in a beginner's chase at Tramore. He was 33 to 1 that day, completely unfancied. He ran to a racing post rating of 100. Now he was entered this week in the beginner's chase and in the 0 to 95. He didn't have a handicap mark until the entries. The handicapper has given him 95 on the button. So I think he knows he's kind of taking a chance. He just threw him in there. He gave him top weight. Crucially for this horse, I think, is he can wear blinkers. He didn't wear blinkers on either of his 2 chase starts. If the blinkers are back on, I would be very interested in him. Owen Doyle's horse is running very well at the minute without winning. He's had a good few placed horses over the last 21 days. Goes on good ground. He's got course form in a really uncompetitive 0 to 95. I just think there's a lot of horses in there who are some in their teens. They're that old. They're well exposed. I just think this horse, he's won a point to point. His first start in a handicap chase, he could be one to go and dot up here. All Duck or No Dinner is one to give a shout out to as well. Gavin Cromwell's in the race. He won last time out. He's gone up £6 for it, but that brings him to a mark in the 90s. He's been beaten in marks in the 90s over fences before. I'd just be a bit wary about him. I don't think he's that well handicapped. Whereas Star of Oscar, now don't get me wrong, I don't think he's thrown in by a stone or anything, but I think he could have a few pounds up his sleeve in a race that isn't that competitive, and he's got course form. I think he'll go very well on Friday in the 6:05. Next race, an hour later, 7:05. This for me, guys, is my bet of the week if he runs. A horse called Lamb's Lane of Emmett Mullins's. He's recently moved at the start of the year from Philip Rothwell to Emmett Mullins. Now, no disrespect to Philip at all. Philip's a good trainer, but Emmett Mullins has a 20% strike rate over jumps in Ireland. That's very, very difficult. He doesn't train a very large string, but he has a very select amount of horses. Interestingly, he's had 4 runners at Tramore in his career. 2 have won and 1 was second. He knows what it takes to come down here. His uncle Willie as well. He knows what it takes. A lot of decent horses. The Gold Cup winner has run around Tramore, and they know what kind of a horse you need to handle the track down here. Emmett had a winner last week and a second and a third from his last 3 runners. He's in form at the minute, as he normally is. As I say, 20% strike rate of jumps in Ireland over the last 5 seasons, 17 winners from only 85 runners. It's a fascinating strike rate for a young trainer who doesn't have many runners, but when they do run, they can be bang there. Lambs Lane won a bumper. This horse has. He won a bumper on, I think, his second start or his third start in Kilbeggan in April 2017. He's been off the track for different periods of time, so he's obviously is difficult to train. He was always with Philip from before then. He won a bumper for him in Kilbeggan in April 2017, as I say. Since then, there's 2 bits of form. There's a race in July 2017 in Ballinrobe. It was a novice hurdle. He ran to an RPI of 105. He was third behind 2 horses called Western Row and Major Destination. They're now rated 128 and 126 respectively. Reproduction of that form would see him absolutely bolt up here. He's off 89 here, guys. He had a mark in the 90s all the way along. Indeed, the second piece of form to note was at Sligo in May last year. So this time last year, in a 0 to 102 handicap hurdle, he finished third off of 97 to an RPI of 108. He's off 89, as I say. He's £8 lower than finishing third in Sligo last year in a 0 to 102. This is a 0 to 95. Emmett's got his hands on him now since the start of the year. I just really, really fancy him. To make an even better case for him, the Dam, he has got a half-brother called Cairns Hill. Cairns Hill moved to... I have this written down somewhere. Cairns Hill moved over to England and has improved as an 8-year-old, which is unusual to say the least. Is now rated 121. There we go. Is now rated, he's won the last twice, the half-brother has, and he's now rated 121 as an 8-year-old. So don't be put off by this lad being a bit older. He can definitely go on and improve, I think. The Dam is so the half-brothers are rated 121. This lad has form off 97. He's now off 89. And the Dam is a half-sister to Maljamar and a horse called Kimingen. We're showing our age with Kimingen, but I think a lot of people remember Maljamar for the Williamses over in England. I just think this horse is going to be absolutely thrown in. The only thing is, he's entered on Saturday in Tramore as well, and he's entered at Hexham on Saturday. So this is, I actually take this as a bit of a positive thing, because I think if he was going to need the run, if Emmett thought he was going to need a run and he just wanted to give him a jog around or something like that to get him fit, he wouldn't give him 3 entries, and he certainly wouldn't enter him in England. There's no point. You just give him 1 entry and run him in the race, and away you go. And you concentrate on the next day when it counts. I think this day, the first day, is going to be the right day for this lad. The 2 races he's entered in at Hexham and Tramore are both over 2 mile. He doesn't need 2 miles. He needs a trip. It's 2 mile 5 in Tramore for the race on Friday. And I really think he should run in that. There's 2 mile 6, 2 mile 5 or 2 mile 6. Like, if you're listening, Emma, I know you're probably not, but if you are, he needs a trip. Friday's your race. Go for that. I think he'll win. I think he could win a couple, this lad. I think you could see him here, win here on Friday, and I think you could see him brought to England or something, and he could win a couple. He could rack up a little sequence. As I say, the pedigree is there. He's got back form in the book. He's now moved to a trainer with a 20% strike rate. He's my bet of the week. I'm looking forward to seeing what price he opens up on Thursday night. I presume he'll get back like a lot of the stables do. And if we can find any accounts to get any money on Thursday night, we'll have to have a look at that. But I really think Lambs Lane, he's the bet of the weekend for me. So it could be a long weekend if he doesn't get the business done on Friday. But that's it. So we've got 2 for you there in Tramore on Friday, and we've got the Oaks and the Derby. So fascinating weekend. It's gonna be a really good one. We've got the football then on the Saturday night. So really geared up for a big weekend. So enjoy it. Andrew will be back next week. We'll have a review show of the Derby and the Oaks, and hopefully we can tell you about the winners we had in Tramore on Friday night. But yeah, look, we fancy him anyway. I was talking to Andrew yesterday about him. He's rowing in as well. So fingers crossed. We'll see how it goes. But we've made our case. And best of luck if you're backing them. Have a good weekend.